Hello students, welcome to the 7th unit, the Gardner, Comprehension 3, last question. Observe how the story employs multiple narratives. You might have observed the narrator starts the story and there is one more story in that main story. The writer P. Lankesh starts the story and later Tamanna himself becomes the narrator. So it is an example of multiple narratives, right? How does this technique unveil the mystery of human relationships? So, how it is useful or how it helps to make us understand the human relationships. In this story, in this short story, The Gardener by P. Lankesh, there is a story within a story and there are two narrators. In the first story, the author, in the persona of the first person narrator, introduces the protagonist. Protagonist is the main character, or we can call him hero of our story. The protagonist, Tamanna, and the story of the owner of the coconut plantation. Then, the first narrator makes way for the second narrator to take over. Interestingly, in the story, the narrator is the protagonist and tells his own story to the owner's wife. However, the narrator employs the third person narrative style and distances himself from the story. Thus, the gardener is an example of the use of multiple narratives. Now, I hope you understood what is the meaning of multiple narratives. Means the story told by two people where one starts the story and later on gradually he distances himself from the story and gives way for the second narrator to narrate the story. Multiple narratives describe a type of story that follows several protagonists rather than focusing on one main character. So, when multiple narrators are introduced, there are more than one protagonist. So, we are not focusing only on one character here. We need to study all the characters. The character of Tamanna, the character of Basavaya, the character of the owner of the plantation. So, like this, we need to focus on every character. In some cases, writers choose this structure to show how they relate to each other. So, here, why multiple narrative is used? To show how all the characters are connected with one another. What is the relation among the characters among themselves? The gardener is an example of the second type. Tamanna is the protagonist in both stories. In both the stories, Tamanna himself is the protagonist. In the first story, we learn how Tamanna uses his own biography to indirectly give message to the owner's wife. Indirectly, he gives the message. He does not introduce himself suddenly to the owner's wife. He takes some other fictional names and he introduces himself and gives some message to the owner's wife indirectly. He gives to the lady his own perspective of human life and experience. Rather than telling her directly, he uses all his experiences and tries to tell her about human life and human nature. The author has used this technique of multiple narratives to reveal the mystery of human relationships. The main motto of the writer, the author, is to reveal the mystery, the secrets of human relationships, how human nature goes on changing according to the situation. In his own life, Tamanna has learnt lessons of being proactive in a rivalry with Basavaya. We have seen how Tamanna behaves with Basavaya before the rivalry started and after the rivalry started. He plays his game with Basavaya only until he dies. So, whatever Tamanna plays or whatever Tamanna does, it is only until Basavaya dies, or as long as Basavaya was alive, Tamanna did everything. Basavaya's death comes as revelation to him about human nature. You might remember Tamanna says he wanted to take revenge on Basavaya, but when Basavaya died, he felt as if he has avenged himself or he has taken revenge on himself because his life became boredom. Whatever destiny he wanted to give to Basavaya, it came to him. Only then does he theorize, saying, man does not live with the intention of acquiring wealth or education or art, but some kind of vulnerable vengefulness. Until then, both Basavaya and Tamanna showed a keen interest in fighting and a zest for life. So, until the death of Basavaya, though Tamanna thought that he does not want rivalry, he wants to stop this unhealthy competition, but unknowingly he was doing the same thing what Basavaya was doing openly. That is human nature. But once Basavaya dies, Tamanna loses all enthusiasm for life. Man needs something, some challenge to lead his life. There should be some motivation to lead his life. So, Basavaya's competition was motivating Tamanna to lead his life. And when Basavaya died, when Tamanna came to know that Basavaya was no more, he lost all his interest in life and he lost all the enthusiasm. He says he is a non entity now because whatever name, fame was there, everything was because of Basavaya. He wrote songs, ballads on Basavaya to tell his cruelty and meanness. He sang them to make people understand the nature of Basavaya. But when the person himself is not no more, about whom will he sing now? Isn't it? So Tamanna felt as if he lost his he lost his identity and he became non-entity. Now he has become philosophical, and this is the ultimate stage of one's life. This is what the protagonist of the story, Tamanna, says. At one point of time, man becomes philosophical. Therefore, when he finds the owner of the coconut plantation cultivating all kinds of vices and the lady getting desperate about her husband, the guilt about Basavaya's death that was pricking his conscience gets transformed into a virtue or a positive force that motivates him to tell his own story objectively to owner's wife. He thinks whatever the owner is doing now, It is some kind of motivation, something is motivating him to do right at that time. The owner may not realize that he is wrong. It is just to show off. But he is consoling the owner's wife, telling that one or the other day your husband will realize that all this is false prestige and everything will go off one day. Had not the author used multiple narrative structures, Tamanna's story could not have come out as a story to educate the owner's wife. So, here the use of multiple narrative structure is very important. Otherwise, it wouldn't have become a lesson to owner's wife. He just wants to make her understand and console her that whatever situation she is facing, whatever the owner is doing, owner of the plantation is doing, this is just for time being, and one or the other day the owner will realize his mistake and he will come back. Thus, multiple narrative structure is able to unveil the mystery of human relationships. Now, we get to study about different people here, and that is the main use of multiple narrative structures. And through multiple narrative structures, the author has made us to understand the mystery of human relationships. Here we come to the end of the chapter, The Gardener. I suggest you to make a neat notes of all the chapters that will help you at the time of your exams. Thank you.